All right, let's talk about something we all think we understand, loans. But what if the way we see them, the way the entire system works, is based on a huge misunderstanding? Today, we're diving into a really unconventional legal argument that claims a loan isn't a debt at all. Let's get into it.
So just think about this for a second. What if signing a loan document wasn't the start of your debt, but was actually the moment it got paid off? I know it sounds crazy, but that's the core idea we're going to unpack right now.
Okay, so here's where things get interesting. This slide really shows the two competing realities. Over on the left, that's the world we all live in. You sign a note, you get some cash, and you start paying back the debt. Pretty straightforward. But the argument we're exploring today, over on the right, suggests something totally different. It claims your signature actually turns that note into a valuable asset, an asset the bank uses to create new money, instantly settling the whole thing. So, where does an idea like this even come from? Well, to understand the logic, you have to rewind the clock way back. The entire argument is built on a national emergency that, according to this interpretation, never actually ended.
Let's walk through this timeline together. It all kicks off in 1933. FDR declares a major banking emergency. Congress immediately passes a law to back it up. Now, fast forward 40 years to 1973. A Senate report comes out, and guess what? It lists that same emergency as still being active. The whole theory hinges on this. Because it was never officially ended with a new presidential proclamation, those emergency rules are, technically, still the law of the land.
And this right here? This is the legal hook the whole thing hangs on. The law itself literally created an off switch. The president had to issue a new proclamation saying, hey, the emergency is over. The claim? That switch was never flipped. And that means the legal framework from 1933 is still technically in place. Okay, so let's just go with this for a second. If we assume this old emergency is still active, what in the world does that have to do with, say, your mortgage or car loan today? Well, this is where it supposedly connects.
Right. This is Loan 101. It's how we all think of it. It's a private deal. You sign a piece of paper, you promise to pay the money back plus interest. It's a simple debt contract.
But here is the major twist. The argument is that under the rules of that 1933 Act, your promissory note isn't just a simple IOU. It gets transformed into something called a statutory security, an asset that is specifically defined by law as being good enough to use as collateral for creating new money.
And according to this theory, it's not just a random idea. Congress itself created this, family of financial instruments. And if you look closely, what's right there on the list? Notes, as in promissory notes. This supposedly means they're officially eligible paper that can be used to back the creation of new currency.
Okay, so let's get practical. If a note is really a security, what does that transaction actually look like? Let's walk through the supposed mechanics of how this all works. So, here's the four-step process they lay out. First, you sign your note and it gets deposited. Second, it's immediately treated as a security. Third, it's used as collateral to create brand new money of the exact same value. And then comes the final critical step. The argument is that the obligation to pay is transferred from you to the Federal Reserve System itself. Now, this little piece of U.S. code is absolutely crucial to the whole idea. It says that the collateral, your note, has to be valued at no less than the amount of new money being created. This is what's called the at-par exchange. A $300,000 note creates $300,000 in currency. It's presented as an equal swap, not the start of a new debt. And that's the whole ballgame right there. The argument concludes that because your valuable note was exchanged for an equal amount of valuable currency, the deal is done. It's a value-for-value exchange that, in this view, satisfies the entire obligation on the spot, paid in full. Okay, let's hit pause for a second, because obviously we all know this is not how your bank or the court system sees it. So what's the legal showdown here? Why do these two viewpoints clash so hard? It really all comes down to this one single question. What is a promissory note? Is it just a simple IOU between you and a lender? Or is it a very specific type of financial security defined by law? The answer to that question changes everything.
On this slide, you can really see the two legal worlds colliding. In one corner, you've got the standard view. It's a Supreme Court test that basically asks, does this thing look and act like a normal loan? If the answer is yes, then it's not a security. But in the other corner, you've got this argument, pointing straight back to that congressional family from the 1933 Act. They argue that's irrelevant because a specific law passed by Congress should always beat a general test created by the courts.
So at the end of the day, this isn't being pitched as some wacky new theory. The claim is that this is simply about a direct reading of an old, existing federal law. It's an argument about the pecking order in our legal system. A specific statute from Congress, they claim, should always override a general rule made by the courts.
Whew. Okay. We have covered a ton of ground here, from the Great Depression all the way to modern legal theory. So let's just boil it all down. What are the absolute core tenets of this entire position?
So let's run through the 4 big pillars one more time. 1. The 1933 banking emergency is supposedly still active today. 2. Because of that, your promissory note is legally a security that's used to create new money. 3. This flips the debt from being your problem to a public one. And finally, 4. This specific law from 1933 is supposed to trump any modern court test.
And that leaves us with a pretty deep question, doesn't it? Now, let's be clear. This is a fringe legal argument. It has not been successful in court, and it is absolutely not how our financial system works. But it does make you think. What's the power of a law that's written on the books, but nobody seems to know about it or enforce it? And what happens when an interpretation of the law gets this far from the reality we all live in every day?